Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Just wanted to give you a little bit of background and current information on suspension and things we've seen and learned over the years as far as suspension goes, in particular obviously for the Prados, because that's mainly what we work on, Prados, Hiluxes, and I suppose it's fairly general as well, suspension information. So I've been in the automotive trade for approximately a bit over 25 years. So we've seen a lot of different suspension over the years in vehicles, what happens with it, wearing out, leaking, not working, all that sort of thing. And obviously replaced a lot of suspension with different brands and stuff over the years. And I suppose in the last 10 years, it's been mainly more full drive suspension, whether it's an 80 series, a 200 series, or a Hilux or a Prado, whatever the case may be. We don't do a lot of the other brands, and we certainly don't work on the other brands anymore. So obviously, not wanting to grow into a massive business, we've had to limit what we work on. So it's down to just Prados only, and pretty well full up with as far as servicing goes. But look, just want to share some information on the suspension side of things, because the way we roll is we're just going to help you do your own, or help give you information to help you make the right decision for what products you want to put in your vehicle. And it can be so confusing and complicated trying to work out what products to use in your four-wheel drive. You've purchased a vehicle, you've spent either a little bit or a lot of money, and if you spend a little bit, it's probably a lot of money to you, because obviously everybody's on a different budget and you haven't got money to burn. You want to get it right the first time with something that suits your vehicle. We do see a lot of problems with new products, and when I say problems, things are just not the right lengths. They might not be the right open length or closed length. So open length, what it fully extends to may not be long enough for the vehicle. You've got to keep things to limitations so you don't damage CVs and other components, drive shafts and stuff. So brake lines, ABS lines, that sort of thing. So that's completely understood, but sometimes the manufacturer lengths are really on the modest side, and you can get a little bit or a lot more travel. And if you're raising the vehicle up, you do need to be able to preferably allow the travel to go down a bit more as well, so the shock is not topping out, which can do some damage as well. So there's really important things to, some companies just can't get the basics right, and that's, like I said, the lengths, the types of bushes they use. Okay, so there's all different materials used in bushes, and I'll say the only suspension that I'd recommend, the only material that should be used in bushes. Now, like I said, we're talking Prados, we're talking that mainly drive on the blacktop most of the time, or they do corrugations, outback trips, or they hit the tracks on the weekend. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about race cars, we're not talking about on Calder Park Thunderdome, we're talking about Prados for the general use, general information. Rubber bushes, okay? Rubber bushes are what we see as the best, like the OEM, original equipment manufacturer, right? Those original ones that come in the Toyotas, they're rubber bushes, and they are awesome quality. I've seen them at hundreds of thousands of Ks, I'm sure other people have too, and they're still in really good condition. They're probably one of the best out there. I'm not even sure if you can buy them separately, but if you could, that's probably a good option. If you've got suspension you think's okay and you keep chopping out bushes, well, it might be because the suspension's not really that okay, but if you think it is and you want to try some quality bushes, if you can buy the Toyota one separately, then that's great. Now, so there's a whole heap of different, different information. What bushes, what lengths, whether you use twin tubes, monotubes, reservoirs, whether you go for the cheap stuff, whether you spend a lot of money, because you can spend many thousands of dollars on suspension, and it's probably just not required for people with these vehicles. So I'm not going to upsell you. I'm not here to sell you suspension on it. Certainly you can buy suspension off me, but you can only buy one brand, and that reason is because it's the value for money. It's got the right lengths, it's got the right quality bushes, it's reliable. When you have the odd failure, the service is awesome, okay? We don't supply products that give us headaches, warranties that are hard, stuff like that. People that are coming back with problems all the time, not interested. If you're interested, we'll get to that, but that's not what this is about. This is just about sharing the information, okay? So we like the way Dobinsons do springs for a couple of reasons. You seem to get a more comfortable ride because of the way they get the height out of the coil in general. Probably different from vehicle to vehicle, but on the Prados, they continue at the same rate for longer, right? Which means that's how you get your height, where if you were to say some of the other spring manufacturers, you can get your height from, let's say, if you grab a string and you pull it and you stretch it, okay? So you can get height that way by so same amount of coils, instead of continuing the same, you stretch it. That's not what they're doing, but I'm just trying to explain it to you. Therefore, you get the same height because you stretched it. But what you get is a firmer ride, because the more you stretch that string, think about a piece of wire. Think about a little, tiny little spring, and if you grab it and you grab each end of it and you stretch it and pull it out till it's straight like a piece of wire, if you like. So it's got a bit of a twist in it. Well, that's still a spring technically if you don't pull it too hard. But imagine how hard the ride would be if that was a spring, right? You straighten it out, and that's what I'm trying to point out. The flatter the spring is, the softer the ride. So that's one component to it, and the other component is obviously the thickness of the material and stuff like that as well. So without going into it too much, we like their springs because of the way they do it. You can get whatever height you like, particularly with these adjustable struts here as well, or coilovers, whatever you want to call them. But they're the springs we like for that reason. And I think, kind of like the green and gold go together, depending if you're getting the twin trims, or the green and gold go together. I'll show you these black ones. They're the monotubes. They look really awesome, but I just want to try and give you, again, like usual, not scripted. I just want to give you sort of what I've got. So probably, the last decade, a lot of four-wheel drive suspension. In the first part of that, using lots of different brands, trying this and that and the other, whatever people wanted. And of course, we've seen a lot of vehicles come in over the years with leaking suspension, or, description like it handles like an ocean liner. Now, there's certain brands, I don't know whether we should go. I just don't really want to talk about other brands because it's all bad, if you know what I mean. So let's just not go there. You just got to be careful what you buy, and it's disappointing when someone comes in with that other combination that sometimes, some people just want me to say it, but I kind of don't want to bag the brand, but I kind of want to tell you. So just keep listening and I'll tell you what you can buy. And if you disagree, well, then you just go and buy whatever you want, because if you disagree, then there's no point in me telling you what not to buy because you disagree, right? So basically, we've seen a lot of suspension come out that's been leaking, whatever. Now, I'm going to tell you what the good brands are, okay? So there's more than one. So there's only one that I'll sell you, but there's other brands you can go and buy and try and that sort of thing. So we'll get to that. What we got in front of us here is what we've used a lot of. So we've probably put more Dobinsons suspension in vehicles than anything else. And that all sort of kind of happened by an accident. We go to trade shows, trade nights, information things, suppliers invite us to these things to show us their products. And we did, just trying to get it right here. Yeah, we did. There was one manufacturer in particular. Was at a trade show where they said, we got this and this is awesome and it's good value for money and we make all this gear. We've got all the experience. We've been doing this for years on trucks and whatever. And we went, this sounds good. And all in theory, it sounds good, right? They explain to you everything they're doing and it sounds good in theory, you know what I mean? So we started using a few of those, and that's where we first found out about the lengths being wrong. Too long puts the CV on a stupid angle and it just pops straight out, and that's why people break CVs, okay? This is what I'm talking about. One of the most important things, the lengths have got to be right, okay? Especially for an IFS vehicle at the front, it can't be too long. And people are sitting there going, oh yeah, but you need a diff drop and this and that. But look, you get the long travel and then you get your diff drop and then you need a new bash plate because your diff's down there and then you've just lost your clearance again. So what was the point of all that, right? If you want to have a monster truck, a comp truck, go and get your old 80 series or your GQ, get a 6-inch lift and put your 37s on, away you go. We're talking about vehicles for touring. It's a Prado. It just needs a 40 to 50 mil lift. Well, it doesn't actually need it, but that's going to help you get over a lot of things in a lot of areas that you can use the vehicle for. It's kind of like the norm, if you know what I mean. So if everybody did that, we wouldn't have ruts dug 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, and 6 foot deep by these other things. Anyway, that's another subject, isn't it? So basically, you've got to have the lengths right. Now, with those brands, of course, they were hard cases about, accepting the fact that, the travel was too long, the ride was way too harsh, the valving was ridiculous. It might work well if you've got a 30-ton truck or something. We're talking about vehicles, Hiluxes or something that weigh a couple of ton or so standard, and a lot of people don't add it. They don't all make them 3-ton trucks, if you know what I mean. So the ride's really harsh, the lengths are all wrong. So what have you got? You've just had an awesome vehicle that you've just ruined because you've got a terrible ride. Nobody wants to go in, including the driver. And when you take it out on the tracks, a wheel comes up and pop, you break a CV. Yeah, that's really awesome. Not. So we stopped using those brands, but that brand in particular at the time used Dobinsons springs. So I suppose that's how we, I don't know. Yeah, I think the way we got Dobinsons is, well, I hadn't really heard much from Dobinsons up until in the last 10 years. So there you go. So I thought we'll investigate Dobinsons a bit more, and we sussed them out and worked out that they do have their own struts and shock products as well, which are these yellow twin tubes on the left. So of course we spoke to a number of people. We don't just throw stuff in cars or whatever. We spoke to a number of people, did some homework on it. What do you think? You get a lot of good stories and a few bad stories, but you sort of get that with everything. So you got to be careful. But usually, look, one bad story is usually there's more. So you got to be careful. And the first thing we do is we try things in our own vehicles, or in our best mate's vehicle, and in our best mate's vehicle and his, and whatever, that sort of thing. So we'll build the numbers up slowly that way and make sure it's all working okay. So we started using the Dobinsons gear. It was really good value for money. It still is good value for money. There was a few issues early days with some of the components, but as I said, the warranty was really good. They made changes and the product's been really good for years. Now, when you go through, I've said in other videos, when you go through big numbers, thousands of things, you're going to have the odd manufacturing fault or something problem, maybe even a bit overfilled and it's going to push some oil out, or maybe it's going to, whatever's going to happen, right? You're going to get the odd one. The main thing is the service is good, and that's what we've got here. Australian company, the service is good value for money product. So for years and years we've been supplying and fitting these twin tubes. These are the rears, so just so you know, they're the 701s. That's what we use in the rear of a 120 or 150 Prado. You can put that in any 120 or 150 Prado. Doesn't matter what model. Well, I'm thinking about this as I say it. Yeah, check it. Don't rely on me. Check it, but pretty well any of those, even if it's got KDSS. And on that note, we're not going to supply a kit for a KDSS Prado or any vehicle anymore, because there are associated problems with that system. And we don't want to be any part. That's what I'm saying. We don't supply parts. Anything that's going to give me, we don't want to be part of it. Now, if you really want to buy a kit off me, you can buy it, but don't even ring me, or don't even tell me about the problems you're having with the lean or whatever and all that sort of thing. Don't remember. I didn't want to get involved in it. So if you really want it, I can help you out. Send me a quote or let me know what, and we'll have a look at it and see what parts you need and help you out. But I hope you get the picture. KDSS, avoid it, in my opinion. If you want KDSS, that's more of a rare off-roader. You're going to go off-road every now and then. Just leave your road tyres on. You've got your fancy suspension, maybe your fancy airbags and your fancy sway bar. And when you go off-road, it automatically detects with sensors and it releases. That's the whole point of it. It's all set up off-road already. Just get yourself a good bash plate and away you go. Don't mess with it. If you want to put a 2-inch lift in a Prado or a four-wheel drive, you're better off getting something a bit more low-tech that's already on coil springs, which some of those are, but without the KDSS. So a GX or a GXL, not a VX or a Kakadu or something like that, right? So general information, just trying to help out, because a lot of people don't get it. They want to put a lift in and they don't understand the associated problems that can come up. There's a few people watching going, yep, that happened to me. And there's a lot of people going, oh mate, mine was fine. So look, we understand there's variables to the situation, but when you've got coil springs, a GXL or whatever, there's never a problem, okay? There's no problem. It's 100% beautiful. Anyway, so the twin tubes we've been using for ages. Heaps of people have got them in their cars. They're 150 Prados, whatever it may be. They love them. They're happy with the right hand as well. They've been going for years, whatever the case may be. Now, I'm just going to touch on it quickly. The safety triangle, tyres, brakes and shockers, okay? They're the three things that work together for safety to keep your tyres on the road, to stop you, which is what you need to do, right? So tyres, the quality of those, the condition, that's your grip, your brakes and how well they work is what's going to stop you. But of course, we know that it's all sprung. It's on a spring and wheels bounce over rough road surfaces and corrugations. The shocker's job is to dampen that spring and keep the wheel on the road. That's why we call it the safety triangle, okay? Well, I didn't come up with that. Monroe come up with that. I just love it. It's beautiful, right? So understand that. and that everything's wear and tear. Tyres wear and tear, brakes wear and tear, shockers wear and tear. So if you've got about 3 years out of these doing corrugations and tracks, and really you should be changing them because they wear slowly, it reduces slowly, you don't notice it. When you get a new set in, you should go, oh wow, that's better. And of course, there's perhaps better product for some people available now, and we're going to get to that. That's on the right there, the monotubes, and there's other products as well, and there's products we're testing that aren't even available on the market yet, but we'll get to that, and there'll be more videos about that. That's why, if you haven't already, hit pause, go press subscribe and turn the bell on so you don't miss out for the next information, and back to it, bada bing, play again. So these twin tubes, we love them. Now I'm going to show you a set that I've had up on the wall for a few years actually. So I use a lot of suspension. I change it to try different products and stuff like that. And sometimes we move that suspension into another car, mate's car or a good customer's car, give them a discount, whatever, hasn't done a lot of Ks maybe, and it's kind of still in further testing and it goes on from there, if you know what I mean. So I've got a set up on the wall there that they've done a lot of trips. I can't even remember where they've been. I just remember going, yep, they've been to that corner and that end and that trip and across the Simps or whatever. They've been absolutely pummeled with rocks and on tracks with big rocks. And that's what I particularly like about the twin tubes, because the first thing over and above all else when you're doing outback travel is reliability, and a twin tube is exactly that. So you've probably seen all shock guards and that on the bottom of the ARB, OME, there's a shock guard, I think fairly standard. I'm not sure, I don't sell it or install it, I just see it on cars. I think they've all got it, unless someone's taken it off, maybe it's an option, I don't know really. So there you go, assumptions. Anyway, you kind of don't need it because that's what the twin tube is. If you got hit by a big rock, you've still got the next tube in, which is where the piston runs, so it's all happy days, right? Now, if you've got a monotube and it's mounted the same way and a rock hits it, not so happy, okay? Which is why they generally put them upside down. But then you've got a boot there, which, look, I haven't really had enough time to test out these boots to see how well they're going to go. And then you've got the upside down factor, which may or may not be good. You know, again, the jury's out on that. Seems to be okay on dirt bikes and stuff, so it's probably fine, right? Need more time on that one. So what's good about the monotube? It's got a better capacity, okay? And it just cools better. You can't see because it's covered by this blue business protecting it at the moment. This is gear for a client's vehicle, and that's why I'm going to explain to you what's going on here, why we got yellow and black. So we're going to get to that. There's more fluid capacity. Look, without getting into too much the difference how they work, they stay cooler, because what happens with the twin tubes at the front, the capacity is just not there. They do a lot of work on the corrugations, they get hot and they do fade out and they don't dampen too well, I'll tell you straight. And it's not necessarily this brand, it's other brands as well. It's all the same. When you've got that capacity, that's all you've got, and you're hammering it, they just get really hot, and that's what happens. So then you can say, you know, stop, let them cool down well, it's going to make the trip, some trips take a really long time if you're stopping every 20 minutes, half an hour to let it cool down for 20 minutes, half an hour, or whatever it may be. So, you know, like it says on the box, funnily enough, purpose built to perform. Bada bing, bada boom, right? So, tell you a bit of a story. We put a set of those, I might have told you in another video. By the way, we've got a couple of videos. Just search on our channel, installing front suspension, installing rear suspension, things like that, and you should find them. I think we've got about 3 videos on the rear and 1 on the front, maybe 2, and there'll be more coming as usual. So it was a couple of years ago we put a set, I think we were still running those twin tubes in the rear, and we put a set of these monotubes on the front. Now, actually, we'll just take a step back a bit. 2015-ish is where Dobinsons came out with the monotube remote reservoirs, okay? I'm not a massive fan of the remote reservoir thing. It just sort of, there's hoses and you need proper mounting systems, and I'll just tell you I wasn't that excited about it. And again, I told you I don't want headaches. I'm not going to go bolting these up to vehicles, making up my own brackets and engineering things that may or may not be okay. It's got to be rock solid reliable to put it on a vehicle, and in my opinion early days it wasn't up to that. Then sometime later they came out with these monotubes without the remote reservoir, right? So, you know, I like to look at, see, no remote reservoir, that's it, right? So you're probably wondering what these people things are. That's the adjustable spring seat. The spring seats are here in the bag and whatever. So that's another story in other videos. So we put those in, and we took them out in the outback and we gave them a really good hammering. And it was March, it was hot. It was really hot in March one particular year. It might not have been last year, the year before, I think. So a couple of years ago it was. And there was just two of us, two cars, two drivers, and nobody out there because it was so hot. It was like 40 plus every day. Not many people around when it's that hot. It was a bit of a boys' trip, test some suspension, go do some tracks. So we gave them absolute hammering. We did a few tracks. One you probably know is Goog's track, so that was part of it, part of the trip. And we did a whole heap of corrugated tracks and ended up, we ended up the old Gan line and up around Central Australia, up, down, left, right, east, west, south, north, all over the place. Somewhere near about 10,000k trip in 2 weeks, right? Exactly. Anyway, so we came back. Long story short, I've got some stories to tell. We could do videos for hours, but I had another client. He came in my vehicle, and he said, and you probably watch this video. He said, mate, what's in this? And I said, well, wouldn't you like to know? I said, well, I've got the Dobinsons twin tubes in the rear and the monotubes in the front. And he said, oh, I want it. I said, no worries, I'll order you a set. And he said, no, I want what's in your car. And I said, what's wrong with a new set? I sort of, basically, you're not going to save any. I've got to take it out of my car, put it in your car. I'm not going to charge you double for the labour because I'm going to get a new set again. But, I've got to, anyway, so that's what happened, guys. I took the suspension out of the 120 and put it in his 120. And he's done, he's happy, he thinks it rides great and all that. So I put another set in, right? So this was the first set of monotubes. I don't think I've installed them to anyone else. I'm not even sure if I'd supplied them to anyone yet, because again, like I said, I want to use them first. So I was happy. Someone else's opinion, they were happy. Nobody ever complained. Anyone else that was in the car and went, it's good, bad, or otherwise. So they went into his car. He's still happy. Another set went into the 120. Gave them a bit of a pumping. They haven't done a lot of outback runs actually. They've been Flinders Ranges, Fraser, where else have they been? I can't remember. Yeah, another Central Australia trip, I think. So they've been around a bit since then. Yeah, we do a few trips. We test and use the vehicles, okay? So all the information I give you is based on using the vehicle on what it's designed to do, not just people that are going to the shops and back, if you know what I mean. So, so we put them in, gave them a good run, and at the same time as we did that, we actually decided to upgrade to the Dobinsons remote reservoirs in the rear, because they actually just came out with a new custom bracket, and I did a video installing that, so you can have a look at that one as well if you like. So these came out, a set of these came out, and the monotube remote reservoirs went in, and they're good. The brackets are good. There was nothing wrong with where the line sat, the way I set it. It was all perfect. Nothing's changed since. It's been, I don't know how long's that been. Was that? Yeah, so that must have been, it's about 1.5 years, I think. Something like that anyway, right? So they're all good, no leaks, no problem, no lines rubbing. I put the corrugated split tubing over the hose as well, as you can see in the video. I don't think it's really required whatsoever, but I just did it because that's how I roll, a little bit of overkill. They ride very well, okay? Now there's nothing wrong with how these ride, but I think maybe they ride a little bit better. There might be a bit of a softer ride. There wasn't really a problem in the heat and the corrugations of these coping, if you know what I mean. So when the front would sort of lose the dampening and get a bit soft and floaty, it didn't happen at the rear. That's why I'm happy with these. These are your best value for money. These are your best reliability. Why would you pay more? See, it's not probably what, manufacturers want me to say. They probably want me to say, go and get the remote reservoirs, whatever. I can make more money when you buy them off me. They can make more money too. I'm just going to tell you how it is, okay? So, if you're happy, like this gentleman who purchased these, actually he wanted the remote reservoirs, but that's another story, we'll get to that. Bada bing, this is what we've got. I'm happy with them, that's what I'd spend my money on. Now, if you're doing a lot of outback corrugations and stuff like that, it might be worth upgrading to monotubes or whatever. So, the fronts, the ride is more comfortable than the twin tube, okay? So the valving, it works really well, nice and comfy, and it just works awesome off-road. That's what the point I was trying to make. On this big long trip, we absolutely hammered them, like as in, high-speed dirt roads, safely of course, we know what we're doing, but, open, what do you call it, sort of like sweeping dirt roads, corrugated, whatever, just, 80, 90, 100 Ks, of course we didn't go over 100, got them hot and they worked, right? So there's no doubt whatsoever in my mind that is all you need in the front. They work beautiful, the comfort's there, they just work, right? Now, another benefit is it's got adjustable spring seats. So if you decide that it's not high enough for you, or it's too high for you, or you're adding a winch and a bash plate and another dual battery, and if the height's changed, you can whip them out, adjust these seats up and down and get exactly the height you want. So that's a good thing for the front. And usually, I suppose, yeah, well, that's a handy thing to have. Now, the next level up is, as I said, the remote reservoirs, which generally I don't think you need, but there's a bit of a game changer coming along soon. And you may have seen my video. I installed a set of monotube remote reservoir at the rear of the 2019 150 we've got, which they're adjustable valving, okay? So they've got a three-way adjustable, they've got a rebound, a high-speed compression and a low-speed compression. Doesn't mean the speed of the vehicle, the speed of the movement of the shock, right? And I've been playing with those, and you can get a ride out of those that is absolutely awesome, I've got to say. So I'm not pushing the product yet. I might push it because I feel like it, but it's new. You can't even buy it yet, as far as I know. You can't. It's not on the market. It's in testing still, right? It's in testing. Okay, I'm testing it, and other people testing it and playing with it and whatever. And then, because that's what you do. You don't just come out with a product and, you know, just chuck it out there and let people test it, do you? We've got to get, you know, dozens. I don't know how many people they've got testing this gear, but I really like it at the moment. So I suppose the main information I wanted to let you know is good value for money gear here. The reason there's a combination like this is obviously there's coil springs as well. Coils are coils, right? You've got to select the right one for the right height and the ride you want, whether you want a hard ride, soft ride, whatever. A spring's a spring, it's all a compromise, okay? So you can't, what do they say, have your cake and eat it too, or whatever, because, I don't know, well, of course you can have your cake and eat it too. But anyway, that's what you're doing, mate. You're having your cake and you're eating it. But anyway, yeah, best value for money. Don't get me wrong, the yellow all around, the twin tubes are fine. So if you were to be, say you're living around Melbourne, Sydney or Brisbane, and you're mainly, I don't know, maybe your wife drives the car and you just go away for weekends and it's not a big deal, and you don't hit hundreds or thousands of k's of corrugated roads, then yellow all around, they're the twin tubes, is probably for you. And if you do a fair bit of corrugations fairly regularly, then it's probably worth upgrading to the monotube. Or if you don't mind spending a few $100 more, probably 200, what does it work out to be? I don't know, $200 or $300 more, whatever it is. Upgrade to a set of these at the front because they're still very reliable. The ride's a little bit better, and when you do those corrugations, you're going to appreciate it, you know, on the handling of the vehicle. And as much as they look very different, okay, they work really well together. That's what I found. Of course, the monotubes all round is going to work better again. I much prefer the adjustable. We've got the non-adjustable remote reservoir in the back of the 120. I much prefer the adjustable one, of course, for obvious reasons. As you put your weight in, up and down, and different driving, you can have a bit of a click and a click here and a click there. Dad drives a 2013 150. It's got the yellow twin tubes all round. I said there's no point spending any more for what you do. You know, look, basically what it does, obviously, it does all the local stuff around home. It does a few high country trips, stuff like that here or there, and it does a few outback trips. Like, it's perfectly capable of doing, you know, the Flinders trips and, you know, Central Australia trips and up the Kimberleys. It's been over the Gibb River Road and all that. No problems, no leaks. It all still works and all that. So you don't need to spend more. It all comes down to what your budget is and what you want to get out of the vehicle. So just like I'm spending time speaking to all you guys now, if you are ready to buy a suspension kit, the way we do it, it's the same as, we don't sell you, we're not a website selling a whole lot of parts. I say there's 3 things we sell. Well, there's 4 things we'll sell. There's a few things I forget, right? So, you know, we've got the timing belt kits. You know, we've got the Prado front wheel bearing kits assembled, ready to bolt on for you. We've got the timing belt water pump kit with, you know, the drive belt, the idler tent, all those bearings in it. We call it the big front engine job. We've got that kit. And all the other little bits and pieces we can add in with those kits, you know, suction control valves and stuff like that. Anything fuel system related or anything where you've got to make sure you're getting the right parts, where it's going to just ruin the job if you end up with, you know, rebuilt injectors or Chinese copies or things like that, right? And you need you need everything you need there, right? Same deal, we can supply suspension. Doesn't bother me whether you do this or not, but if you want to do it with me, once you're ready and you go, okay, I watch your video, I'm ready to buy suspension, call me, we'll have a chat about what suits you, whether it's this, or any of the combinations we've spoken about, or from hopefully watching this video, you've got a fair idea what you want. We can talk about the accessories you've got on your vehicle. You know, whether you've got bull bars, lifts, and what you're going to do, winches, and, you know, not lifts, you know, I don't know, bash plates, and all the heavy things, batteries, bash plates, you know, side steps, even half the weight goes to the front, doesn't it? They can be quite heavy. We'll work out what springs you need, and we can make it happen. And we can get these kits delivered pretty well anywhere in Australia, right? And we can even have them assembled so that, you know, you get the top hat and the core spring already mounted on here, so it's ready to go, and you can just bolt it in the front of the vehicle, watching one of my videos on YouTube, funnily enough. So anyway, guys, there you go. You got some options. I don't know what else I can tell you. I still think it's really good value for money. As far as service goes, yeah, second to none. There's only a few, you know, there's not many companies that you can say give really good service, and I can't give good service unless my suppliers do that for me. Well, I kind of can actually, because I can go, I don't care what you're doing. I've sold 1,000 shockers and we got one leaking, so I'm going to replace it. I can do that actually, and that's probably the best way to run a business, isn't it? But I don't know, some people don't get that. Anyway, guys, I don't know what else I can tell you. We've got the videos there on installing these with even more info, but I hope you get the picture. Twin tubes are twin tubes, right? So kind of reliable. The rocks can hit those, no problem. The monotubes, like I said, they're upside down, so the rocks are hitting the boot. The boot, a lot of people have said, I have asked people, a lot of people said, yeah, the boots are fine, no problem. So that's probably the case. As they get older, are the boots going to deteriorate and break? Well, it's only a boot, so it's not hard to change anyway, is it? So, and maybe you don't even need the boot there. Maybe the boot's there for good looks to make you feel better, I'm not sure. But then if the rocks hit the shaft, I don't know, is it going to damage it and then it's going to leak? I'm really not sure about those things because I haven't seen it happen yet, which is what I'm telling you. Reliability here. Known reliability, and I don't see any issues. The rocks aren't going to hit the front one, so I've got no issues with the monotubes at the front. They work really well. This is actually an awesome combination as long as you can get over the colour differences. I reckon that's about it for this one. If you haven't already, you know the deal. Subscribe, because there's heaps more awesome information coming your way. We're going to get better at making videos, better at getting the information out more clearly to you. Turn the bell on so that each day, bing, it comes in and you can watch the video that night. Otherwise, you're just falling behind. It's like you're back at school again, okay? So if you're back at, if you're at school, you got to keep on to it. Otherwise, you're gonna have too much work to do at the end of the year, right? And that's where you're at now, because there's hundreds of videos, more going up all the time. You're falling behind. Everybody tells me it's awesome information. It's the best channel. It's so underrated and all that. So take their word for it, not mine. Check the comments. I'm sure, there's going to be a couple of people that know. Look, there's certainly people that know more about it and suspension than me, but are they doing the videos? This is to help the people that know less than me, and now they know nearly as much as me. Hopefully that's the idea. Share the information. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, and the last thing I just wanted to show you was, before the bada bing, bada boom, is those old twin tube shockers up there. So they went into one of our Prados, I reckon, 2012 or something like that. So, it's a while ago now. Let's get in there and have a closer look and see what we can see. Zoom right in there just to give you a picture of that. Right, so you can see where the rocks, you get it? See the line, see the yellow line across the middle? Because some people are going, why is there a yellow line there? That's where your handbrake cable goes across in front of it, right? And the handbrake cable is rubber and it's got an extra cover over it and whatever, but just goes to show the rocks can hit the rubber and it puts marks in it, but it doesn't damage it too much. But I'm sure Toyota have, used the right quality rubber and so that it doesn't, go to pieces. But just want to show you, most people know, but that's the sort of pelting the rear, the bottom half in particular. You can see it goes a little bit into the top dust cover, approximately a third of the way up to where you can't see the black zip tie in the picture, but just above at the top of the picture, there's a black zip tie holding that up to the wall. So, any big rocks hit that, you're laughing, okay? That's my point I'm trying to make. So if you live on one of these sorts of roads and it's getting pelted all day long, you might be better off with these. But then again, I'd love to see in the comments anyone that's got the monotube, the Dobinsons monotubes, that are upside down mounted with a rubber boot at the bottom. I'd love to hear about whether the boots are going really well, what roads they've been on, like, yep, I've been up the Tanami, I've been across the Gibb River Road, or wherever you've been. You tell me where you've been and I can sort of picture where it's been and say, yep, it's all fine, no problems, or happy to see some feedback, and of course maybe we might even find a couple of people that have had problems. That's fine as well. Again, small percentages. You're going to have problems with just about anything, not everything, but just about everything, as long as the percentage is small and the service is there. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. See ya.